thinking or Trump deep state counter-coup reality. Delta Force raids Obama's stronghold in Thailand. And at first I was quite skeptical about it, but today I received a note from Bill Holter who tells me, quote, I have received private confirmation from a guy who does big business in Thailand, and this story appears to be correct.
During the pre-dawn hours on Christmas Day, Delta Force operators launched a precision strike against an Obama-controlled stronghold in Thailand, says an active Secret Service agent who claims President Trump greenlit the operation following a series of telephone calls to United States military commanders and to Thailand Prime Minister Nick Bukharin. A Delta detachment, known as 1SFOD in the Special Operations Community, flew from Okinawa, Japan to the United States Embassy in Bangkok, and held position while Trump cleared the incursion with his Thai counterparts. According to our source, the Trump administration learned that Obama, by proxy, owned a mansion and a 400-acre estate on the outskirts of the city of Sisak, approximately 500 kilometers from Bangkok. On paper, the land was owned by the allegedly defunct Solindra Corporation, a startup solar company to which Obama gave $2.2 billion taxpayer dollars in 2009. Shortly thereafter, Solindra declared bankruptcy, and the money vanished. Despite apparent poverty, Solindra maintained real estate holdings valued at over $800 million in a half-dozen Southeast Asian countries. The Trump administration connected the dots, linking Obama to the Thai property, after asserting presidential privilege and subpoenaing flight records that demonstrably proved Obama had traveled to Sisak 6 times as president and an additional 4 times in the past year. In a June 2009 edition of the Washington Beacon, conservative author Thomas Clearwater wrote, Solindra does not appear to be a legitimate institution, and is likely a shell company or slush fund used or owned by Obama to launder his dirty money. Our Secret Service source supports that contention. Obama holds real estate, vast sums of currency, and shadow companies across the globe, under many aliases. He doesn't keep them in his name, as that would be too conspicuous. The administration has learned about many of them and has been working with foreign governments to seize Obama's illicitly gained assets. Many of these nations are not exactly friendly to the United States. We don't know what Trump offered in exchange for rights to seize assets in non-extradition countries or put special operations boots on the ground on foreign soil. I'm sure the price way high. Clandestine missions are occurring right now. The Solindra mansion was just one of many, our source explained. At 3 a.m., local time, a pair of helicopters, including decoy craft, airlifted Delta to its destination. They found the mansion deserted, however, according to our source, the dwelling had been recently occupied. The unit commander discovered freshly chopped vegetables and lukewarm coffee in the kitchen. Outside, fresh tire impressions lead away from the compound. Someone, our source said, must have tipped off the occupants shortly before Delta arrived on scene. Still, Delta did not leave the location empty-handed. They seized several encrypted laptops and over $200 million in gold bullion, in addition to dozens of crates containing Chinese-manufactured firearms and explosives. Moreover, and perhaps most disturbing, a maze of underground tunnels, ostensibly used for human trafficking, ran for miles in every direction beneath the surface. Having gathered all available evidence, they requested exfiltration and handed off control to Thai law enforcement. Under power granted by the ASEAN Declaration to Joint Action on Counter-Terrorism, Thai officials confiscated the estate and all remaining possessions contained therein.
We got a chance here to deliver some fatal blows to really bad actors in 2018. But if we blink, God help us all.
And that was Senator Lindsey Graham quite likely referring to North Korea as one of those bad actors, the rogue regime ushering in the new year with a fireworks show in the skies over Pyongyang. But of course, it's explosives of an entirely different kind, causing so much concern around the world. South Korea now warning that the North is not about to stop improving its nuclear and missile programs in 2018 after making so many advances this year. So what can we expect expect from Kim Jong-un in the new year. Joining me now, retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, former advisor to the South Korean military and a senior fellow and military expert with defense priorities. So great to have you here.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. I would like to start with a year-end review, first of all. What are the greatest foreign policy accomplishments in 2017 under the Trump administration?
Well, you know, they've certainly put America first, and that's been one of the highlights of the administration, what they've, changed the whole focus of it. Of course, one of the biggest things is that they released their national security strategy, which is what guides, all the foreign policy and the military efforts that we do worldwide. So that was actually a big accomplishment right there.
In what areas did President Trump fall short?
Well, I think that one of the areas we've fallen short is where he's been the most aggressive, and that's on North Korea by making the situation far more tense and hot than it needs to be. Because what we really need to do is to focus on deterrence, to clearly communicate that we have the military power that could absolutely destroy North Korea should they ever use their weapons. But what we want to do is prevent them from using the weapons, not launching any kind of preventive war. And so I think that deterrence and, relentless diplomacy is the way we should go there.
So is the sub-answer there that you didn't say, the subtext was that perhaps, let me ask you, are you referring to the president's tweets and perhaps regarding North Korea, maybe he should lay off Twitter on that particular topic?
Well, it's far more than tweets. It was his United Nations speech in September. It was Nikki Haley at the United Nations. It was H.R. McMaster. It was Senator Graham, who you had on there just a second ago. All those different voices are all on the same, being militaristic and aggressive that we really don't need. We really need to move things back so that we can control this situation and preserve American security, but not push it to the brink of war.
So is there any way of knowing where the situation with North Korea is heading in 2018? Any predictable markers? Or it depends on what you just said, the U.S. approach to it?
Well, yeah, and we can count on the fact that, and I suspect that probably within a matter of a few weeks, that North Korea is probably going to fire another Hwasong-15 ICBM missile, and that's going to generate everything back up again and make everybody all excited, and that's right before the Olympics. So the other thing we got to watch out is what is North Korea going to do during or in the lead up to the Olympics, because I suspect that they may feel a little bit more able to do some things, to stir things up a little bit more, figuring that the United States will have their hands tied a bit to be able to do anything during the Olympics for fear of causing any problems to the world's Olympics, to the world's athletes there.
Yeah, but he's not that crazy, is he? Kim Jong-un.
Well, I mean, he's not going to attack anything, but what he may do is think he can take a little bit more of a risk in launching these missile tests, because he thinks, well, they're not going to be able to do anything in response, because what he wants to do is he wants to have the effect of the test so that he can validate his missile program is doing what he thinks it can, but he doesn't want to precipitate an attack. So he may use the Olympics as a way to blunt our response, so to speak.
Well, we'll probably have you back to talk about that. Let's hope he doesn't do anything that would cause for action. How crucial, again, getting back into a general scope of things, how crucial is foreign policy clarity and success in 2018 for Mr. Trump's presidency?
Well, I think it's vitally important. And what I'd like to see is a little bit more focus and support of the diplomatic corps. Like it was about 2 weeks ago, I think you had Secretary of State Tillerson come out and say, yes, we are open to talks with North Korea, unconditional to at least begin talks and all this. And it was hours later that you had several administration officials basically shooting that down. And what I'd rather see is administration officials supporting the Secretary of State and supporting diplomatic overtures, because, that's the way that you can actually preserve security. That's the way that you can make sure that people stay safe and that there's no war.
But President Trump perhaps has the position that he's expressed before, that his unpredictability in many places and in many aspects causes others and our foes to stay on their toes because they're not sure what he's going to do. What's your take on that?
Well, I think there's something to be said for unpredictability in some quarters, but in this one, I don't think there is. I think we need to be very clear on what we're going to do, because we don't want miscalculation. We don't want them to think one thing and then actually it's going to be something else, because then that could lead to unpredictable and bad consequences. And so what I think that we ought to do here is to very clearly communicate that we have a deterrent, that if you do anything at all with your WMD, you can count on an immediate and a withering punitive response. But if you don't use your weapons, then you can count on not being attacked, because it's really crucial to understand why North Korea has these missiles and this nuclear program and all this. It's not to attack anyone, but it's to prevent others from attacking them. It's a defensive deterrent, because they know they're outnumbered 100-1 in nuclear weapons by the United States. So they're not going to do anything that's going to, spawn an attack that they can't survive. So they want to survive and they want to live. So let's take advantage of that to prevent war from coming.
Colonel Davis, interesting point you make here. I have more questions, but we're out of time for the moment. We'll have you back. In the meantime, I'd like to say Happy New Year's to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and same to you.
Thank you.